Good evening, Amalma Angeles, and you're watching Eagle News International. And now for the headlines. Moscow in mourning. New reports confirm a devastating attack on a Moscow concert hall with over 60 lives tragically lost. The Islamic State claims responsibility, leaving Russia reeling. Adding another layer of horror, the U.S. reveals they warned Russia of a potential attack just hours before the tragedy. South China Sea simmers. Tensions rise in the South China Sea after the Philippines accuses China of harassing a Filipino supply vessel near a disputed reef. Video evidence shows a tense confrontation sparking outrage from the Philippines. Venezuela's oil dispute heats up. Venezuela's creation of a new state within the contested Expo region further strains relations with Guyana. Is this a fight for sovereignty or a political ploy by President Maduro before elections? Royal family faces health battles. Catherine, Princess of Wales, reveals her own cancer diagnosis in a moving video. And this follows King Charles III's announcement of his own illness, leaving the British monarchy facing a double health crisis. Tonight, tragedy strikes in the heart of Russia's capital as terror descends upon Moscow. More than 60 people were killed in a devastating attack on a Moscow concert hall, the investigative committee confirmed Saturday, marking a significant increase from earlier reports. This tragedy has shaken the nation to its core, with Russian news agencies providing harrowing details of the unfolding nightmare. Islamic State has claimed responsibility for this heinous act, plunging the city into chaos as terror strikes at the heart of Russia's capital. The assailants, donned in camouflage, unleashed terror upon the theater, throwing bombs into the crowd and unleashing a barrage of gunfire. Scores of people hid behind seats in the hall or rushed towards entrances to the basement or roof to escape the bullets. Eyewitnesses recount scenes of horror as the attackers wreaked havoc upon unsuspecting concert goers.
У меня полнейшая паника, у меня болит весь организм, начинает сердце, давление, все такое, вроде таблетку выпил, вроде полегче, но опять же, что делать я не знаю, сейчас полностью безысходность. Как говорят знакомые, просто ждать списков, ждать, пока линия больницы освободится, только как-то так, больше. Жена у меня здесь, они поехали на концерт, друг мой стоит, его тоже жена сюда поехала. 8 часов она позвонила, ничего не понятно, буквально, может, 5 минут, естественно, пыталась докричаться, и я вообще не понял, что происходит. И вот буквально минут, наверное, после, как услышал, сразу поехал сюда.
The theater, engulfed in flames, poses a monumental challenge for emergency responders who are tirelessly working to extinguish the inferno and rescue those trapped inside. Helicopters scrambling to the scene, attempting daring rooftop rescues amidst the chaos and destruction. Meanwhile, questions loom over the identity and motives of the perpetrators.
По факту происшествия в концертном зале Крокус Сити Холл Главным следственным управлением Следственного комитета России возбуждено уголовное дело по признакам преступления, предусмотренного статьей 205 Уголовного кодекса Российской Федерации. Это террористический акт. На место происшествия выехала следственно-оперативная группа Центрального аппарата Следственного комитета России.
2 weeks prior to the attack, the U.S. Embassy issued a warning of potential extremist threats targeting large gatherings in Moscow, including concerts. In the aftermath of the tragic incident, condemnation poured in from global entities such as the United Nations, the United States, the European Union, and other Western nations aligned with Ukraine following Russia's invasion in 2022. Former President Dmitry Medvedev hinted at potential consequences for Ukrainian involvement, stating that any implicated Ukrainian leaders would face severe repercussions.
Щодо подій в Крокус-Сіті в російському Підмосков'ї, де прямо сьогодні відбулися певні події, певна стрілянина, певні терористичні дії з боку невстановлених осіб. Давайте зафіксуємо, Україна точно, абсолютно точно не має ніякого відношення до цих подій. По-перше, тому що в нас є повноцінна, повномасштабна, величезна, інтенсивна війна з російською регулярною армією і з Російською Федерацією як країною. І безвідносно до всього, все буде вирішено саме на полі бою. Для України важливо провести ефективні бойові дії, наступальні дії для того, щоб знищити російську регулярну армію і таким чином закінчити цю війну. По-друге, Україна ніколи не використовувала терористичні методи ведення війни, тероризм як метод, на відміну від Російської Федерації.
The White House tonight cautioned against linking Ukraine to the attack.
The images are just horrible and just hard to watch, and our thoughts obviously are going to be with the victims of this terrible, terrible shooting attack. There is no indication at this time that Ukraine or Ukrainians were involved in this shooting. But again, this just broke. We're taking a look at it, but I would disabuse you at this early hour of any connection to Ukraine.
But as the death toll rises, so too will demands for justice. As the nation mourns, one thing remains clear amidst the rubble and despair. The call for accountability and resolution rings louder than ever. And now we're going to the South China Sea, where tensions are escalating between the Philippines and China. The Philippines is accusing the China Coast Guard of harassing a Filipino supply vessel near Second Thomas Shoal, a disputed reef in the region. Video released by the Philippine military shows a Chinese Coast Guard ship using water cannons on the Filipino vessel, the Unaiza May 4. Philippine Coast Guard spokesman Commodore J. Tariela condemned the act, calling it irresponsible and provocative behavior that disrupted their resupply mission. And this comes just 2 days after another confrontation near Scarborough Shoal, where Filipino scientists reported harassment by the China Coast Guard.
It is important for us to highlight the fact that the entire duration of the marine scientific research conducted jointly by the Coast Guard and the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources have been done for more than 4 hours. Despite of the presence and provocative action of Chinese Coast Guard vessel, our BFAR personnel, especially those sailors who are manning these vessels, still was able to deal with them professionally and was not provoked and did not end up being the result of a much more escalatory action coming from the FAR.
Marine biologist Jonathan Anticamara says his team also discovered piles of rubble at Sandy Cay, Maine, raising concerns about environmental damage in the disputed area. An initial assessment by the University of the Philippines revealed very poor conditions for fish and coral reefs near the Sandy Cay and another reef. Scientists believe these unnatural piles of rubble could be linked to China's ongoing land reclamation efforts in the Spratly Islands.
Those live corals that we saw that are foliose or kind of rose type underwater are suddenly now covered in a massive pile of rubble. Almost half of it is now covered. This is not common. If there's a wave that brings this rubble from, let's say, from the exposed area, it will be a gentle, probably a gentle, not a sudden cut, like the whole colony is cut into half. One with a really tall cover of rubble, the other half is clean. There's a sharp edge, as if it's been put there.
China has been accused of aggressively building artificial islands on disputed reefs, potentially militarizing the region. And this latest incident adds fuel to the fire of rising tensions in the South China Sea, and we'll continue to monitor the situation for further developments. Breaking news in the Red Sea, tensions escalate as U.S. aircraft carriers scramble to thwart Houthi attacks. And here's the latest update. Reports indicate that Yemen-based Houthi rebels have targeted another commercial vessel in the Gulf of Aden, claiming to have critically hit an American flagship with multiple missiles.
نفذت القوات البحرية في القوات المسلحة اليمنية عملية استهداف لسفينة مادو الأمريكية في البحر الأحمر وذلك بعدد من الصواريخ البحرية المناسبة.
While U.S. officials confirmed the strike on a commercial vessel, they assured that it sustained no major damage. Meanwhile, the Iran-backed Houthi group issues threats against American, British, and Israeli ships navigating the Red Sea. Reports also suggest a potential deal between the Houthis and Russia and China for safe passage of their commercial vessels. The USS carrier Dwight Eisenhower has been in the thick of all this action. The carrier group's captain says U.S. Navy launches airborne operations against the Houthis almost every minute, marking unprecedented levels of engagement since World War II. The captain said, and I quote, "The U.S. Navy has not deployed its aircraft carriers at this scale since World War II. The Houthis are the biggest threat we've seen," end quote. However, maintenance crews raise concerns as the intensity of operations takes its toll on both the ship and its fighter jets. Despite Western military presence, the threat from the Houthis persists, rendering the waters of the Red Sea extremely perilous. And now turning our focus to Latin America, where tensions between Venezuela and Guyana are reaching a boiling point over the long-standing dispute concerning the oil-rich region of Essequibo. Could this conflict be a battle for Venezuela's sovereignty, or perhaps a strategic move by President Maduro to rally support ahead of the upcoming presidential election? This next report aims to shed light on these pressing questions. In a region fraught with historical contention, Venezuela's decision to approve the creation of a new state in the disputed territory of Essequibo has further exacerbated tensions between the neighboring nations. Venezuelan lawmakers aligned with President Nicolás Maduro have given the green light for the establishment of a new state in Essequibo, a move contested by Guyana.
Las honorables diputadas y los honorables diputados que estén a favor de aprobar la segunda discusión del proyecto de ley orgánica para la defensa de la Guayana Esequiba, sírvanse a manifestarlo con la señal de costumbre. Aprobado por unanimidad. En consecuencia, se declara sancionada la ley orgánica para la defensa de la Guayana Esequiba.
This latest development comes amidst escalating rhetoric and military maneuvers, raising concerns of a potential escalation in hostilities. In a bold display of defense, Venezuela has dismissed the authority of the International Court of Justice and proceeded with its territorial claims over Essequibo, despite international opposition. However, Guyana remains steadfast in its defense of sovereignty, denouncing Venezuela's unilateral actions as a threat to regional stability.
And there is absolutely no retreat by Guyana in ensuring that this matter is determined by the ICJ and that the outcome of this matter at the ICJ be respected by all.
In the late 1800s, an agreement between the U.S. and the United Kingdom resulted in the division of the territory, with the majority of the Essequibo region allocated to the administration of modern-day Guyana. This division laid the groundwork for a conflict that persisted well into the 21st century, reaching a peak in 2013. It was in that pivotal year that Guyana made a significant discovery: abundant petroleum reserves in the territorial waters above Essequibo. Today, Guyana boasts petroleum reserves comparable to those of Kuwait, surpassing even major oil-producing nations such as Saudi Arabia, Norway, and Qatar in terms of oil reserves per capita. The potential access to these reserves offers a glimmer of hope for Venezuela, which has been grappling with a crumbling economy despite possessing vast oil deposits. Venezuela's economy has endured a tumultuous decade, plagued by rampant inflation and domestic challenges including organized crime, gang violence, and corruption. As Venezuela grapples with internal turmoil and economic hardships, President Maduro's aggressive posture towards Guyana raises suspicions of political posturing ahead of the upcoming elections. With Venezuela set to head to the polls in July, one cannot help but wonder, is President Maduro exploiting this long-standing dispute to divert attention from pressing domestic issues? And today in Brussels, the Secretary General of the United Nations engaged in pivotal discussions at a working lunch with the esteemed heads of state and government of the European Union. The Secretary General stood alongside Charles Michel, President of the European Council, to address the media. Listen to this.
We live in a chaotic world with the superpowers at odds with each other. We have a situation of impunity where any country or any armed group thinks that it can do whatever it wants because there is no accountability. And when we live in a chaotic world, it's very important to stick to principles. And the principles are clear. The United Nations Charter, international law, territorial integrity of countries, international humanitarian law. And that is the reason why we believe it's essential to have peace for the Ukraine, but peace fully in line with the principles, which means peace respecting the Charter, international law, and the territorial integrity and sovereignty of the Ukraine. That is the reason why we believe, for the same reasons, that we need a ceasefire in Gaza, as we condemn the terror attacks of the 7th of October, and as we condemn other violations of international humanitarian law by Hamas. We also condemn the fact that we are witnessing a number of civilian casualties in Gaza that is unprecedented in my times as Secretary General. And a basic principle of international humanitarian law is the protection of civilians. We must stick to principles in the Ukraine as in Gaza, without double standards.
In closing, he called upon the European Union to assert its leadership in addressing pressing global challenges, including climate change, the ethical development of AI, and socio-economic inequalities.
And at the same time, we must push the world to move progressively into some orderly form of multipolarity with strong multilateral institutions. And there is only one fundamental way to have a multipolar world. It is with the leadership of a strong and united European Union. And we strongly appeal the European Union to play a very active role in relation to the central questions, the existential questions that threaten today's world. Climate change, the uncontrolled developments of artificial intelligence, and the deep inequalities that we face.
Thank you. Merci beaucoup.
News broke on Saturday of a double blow to the British monarchy. Princess Catherine, widely known as Kate, revealed a shocking cancer diagnosis in a deeply personal video message.
In January, I underwent major abdominal surgery in London, and at the time, it was thought that my condition was non-cancerous. The surgery was successful. However, tests after the operation found cancer had been present. My medical team therefore advised that I should undergo a course of preventative chemotherapy, and I'm now in the early stages of that treatment.
This comes just weeks after King Charles III announced his own battle with the disease. Sitting on a bench at her Windsor home, Kate addressed the camera directly.
This, of course, came as a huge shock, and William and I have been doing everything we can to process and manage this privately for the sake of our young family. As you can imagine, this has taken time. It has taken me time to recover from major surgery in order to start my treatment. But most importantly, it has taken us time to explain everything to George, Charlotte and Louis in a way that's appropriate for them and to reassure them that I'm going to be okay.
Her frankness resonated with commentators.
But equally, this is clearly something that will appall not only the nation and the Commonwealth, but also the world. And people will hope that things work out, but they will obviously take a considerable time. And how our monarchy functions during that time, that will be a test of extraordinary individual resilience.
Kate, alongside Prince William and their children, represent the modern face of the royals. Their future role is crucial as the monarchy faces challenges.
That so many people will have been so moved by the way that she conducted herself during that 2-minute plus broadcast. But there's no doubt at all that it's a very, very difficult time for the institution of monarchy, because how you plan, which is what it's all about with being seen to be believed, as the Queen Elizabeth once said, how you plan for the future, it's very difficult.
Experts explain the potential use of chemotherapy in Kate's case. It could be to eliminate any remaining cancer cells after surgery.
We sometimes use chemotherapy afterwards in order to mop up any little bits that might be there, maybe the odd cell or something that is so small that you can't see it, you can't even find it with any form of scan or other sort of test. And then we use this chemotherapy afterwards in order to mop that stuff up and to reduce the chances or to prevent it coming back again or relapsing.
The specifics of Kate's treatment plan remain unknown, as the type and extent of the cancer are undisclosed.
Then there will be one or more cycles of chemotherapy if it's a traditional chemo. That means that you have chemo for a little bit and then you wait for the chemo to kick in and work and the body to recover, and then another cycle of chemotherapy is given. The number of times you do that depends entirely upon the type of cancer it is, where it is, how much has been there, and sometimes characteristics of the cancer itself, where they look at it under the microscope or they do special genetic tests on it. All of those things will determine how many of those need to be done.
Despite weeks of speculation, the news left many, including tourists, near Buckingham Palace in shock.
Well, I was shocked because, you know, we've all kind of been wondering what was going on, and so to hear that it was really kind of almost the worst possible scenario is very sad to hear. But yeah, I hope that that they caught it early enough, and that maybe they can find a cure for her as far as being able to get rid of the cancer.
Meanwhile, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, Prince Harry and Meghan, offered their well wishes for Kate's health and healing. While emphasizing the need for privacy, their relationship with William has been reportedly strained since their departure from senior royal duties. Despite their differences, one can only hope that both brothers will come together for their family during this challenging time. The royal family faces an unprecedented challenge, with both the king and the future queen battling cancer. The video message, however, highlighted Kate's strength and determination in the face of adversity.
It has taken us time to explain everything to George, Charlotte and Louis in a way that's appropriate for them, and to reassure them that I'm going to be okay. As I've said to them, I am well and getting stronger every day by focusing on the things that will help me heal in my mind, body and spirits.
And now we're turning our attention to an exciting event, and that's making waves in the world of health and fitness. Over to you, Eva and Alan.
Making its scheduled return to Dodger Stadium, the traditional Health and Fitness Expo transitions into the Lifestyle Expo.
Living up to its new moniker, this event adds a deeper experience for both the fitness-minded athlete and the casual curiosity seeker.
At the Lifestyle Expo, there's a wide range of nutrition, recovery, and performance items. I love these events. I love the people that come here, and I love all the companies that are here. The energy is awesome.
I bought a sweatshirt from a running company called Tracksmith. I just really like their message of sponsoring amateur athletes.
Today I decided to get these amazing compression socks. I have not had any, so I'm excited to give those a shot. And I am a Dodger fan, so might as well rep my team.
Based on the types of merchandise purchased, the outlook of attendees pointed towards their hope for a healthy and fit future.
Health and fitness has been very important to me, as I'm a very busy person. I am a full-time graduate student and a full-time educator, so I cannot help my students and my community if I'm not taking care of myself.
I just think it's important for living a long and fulfilling life to be healthy and minded to that sort of lifestyle.
In support of a healthy lifestyle was Karen Ware, whose advocacy has enabled her to run marathons on every continent. In her book, Finding Fit, Karen explains how running has the potential to open doors on a global level.
Right in the middle of chapters, there's chapters about the Belmont boys, and it's exciting for Los Angeles to know that by running, they can pull themselves off the streets, they can go out and see the world, and you can too. Get up and start doing something. Sign up for something, set a goal, get out there and just be outdoors. That's, basically it. You don't have to be a competitive or a high-class runner. We have people coming to the races that we put on that are wearing 3X shirts. And if they lose 5 pounds and it takes them long to get there, it doesn't matter because they're getting the camaraderie and they're getting the experience to be outdoors.
Traffic leading to Dodger Stadium is rough, prompting some to leave the car and walk, or in Alan's case, row their way to the Expo. Evan Allen, Los Angeles, California. Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
Thank you, Evan Allen. As always, I'll end the day on a thoughtful note. Our ability to look back and smile at our past is proof that God's plan is to keep us moving forward. This has been Eagle News International. I'm Alma Angeles. Stay alert, stay informed, because we live in extraordinary times. Good night.